What does it take to succeed in the post-digital era as an agency? Let's first ask the question, who's the most important person in an agency's life? I would say the client. So I think we need to first look at what is happening on the client side. The first big thing which is happening is that average CEO and CMO tenures are coming down from 7 to 5 to now 3 years. Um, this basically impacts the future of the way the company that you work with is going to do business, their communication strategy, their marketing strategy, and therefore who and how they choose to work with. So that's one big thing which we need to be aware of. The second thing that we need to be aware of is the role of technology and how it is impacting business on the client side. Here again, I'd cut it into two pieces. Technology, which is that being used by the large consumer base, which is probably, for most practical purposes in the 30 to 50 age group, which is where the money is and which is where spending power is, and therefore a lot of brands focus in those segments. How is it impacting them? The second thing I would look at increasingly is how is for lack of a better word, the millennials or people who've been born 1990 onwards, they are now coming into a massive amount of spending power. But their use of technology, their consumption of media, their understanding of culture, which is again very important, uh, all those are going to impact and are impacting business. These this set of audiences might be not be as large in terms of a consumption class or in terms of the ability to spend money as the older age group is, but in the next 5 years these guys are going to reach there much faster because a lot of these people are earning money which probably the earlier generation used to earn 5 years into their jobs, and these guys are starting to earn money right from the time they're in college. So by the time they hit their first jobs, they already are pretty big consumption class for most marketers and for across categories. So, what is impacting these guys from a technology perspective is that these guys are a mobile first generation. So, everything that you looked at in terms of how your communication is going to be developed, whether you're going to be using social platforms, whatever else you're doing, the focus needs to start shifting to a mobile first viewpoint on communication. The second thing that I would look at is the cultural changes that are happening in the society and how are they impacting our own the kind of content or entertainment, our behavior in terms of buying products, our behavior towards society. These will impact. The reason why I'm sort of elaborating a little bit on all these things is it is going to directly impact the role of an agency, and therefore it will impact your business model, and therefore it will also impact the kind of people that you choose to hire. So that brings me to the agency itself. Your first question should be, why am I doing this? Why do I want to be an agency? And if you said for whatever reason you want to be an agency, you need to figure out what is the purpose of your agency. Are you going to be a creative boutique? Are you going to be a strategy and creative agency? Are you going to be data and strategy and technology? I'm not going to talk about creative because at the end of the day we are in the creative business, so I don't think I should be talking or giving importance to creative because uh, that is a bedrock of everything that an agency does. um, so you first need to figure out what is a specific reason or what is the problem on the client side that you want to solve, which is the reason for the foundation of your agency. The third thing, therefore, which comes in is how are you going to do that? Or rather specifically, what will you do? Are you going to provide uh, cultural the changes in culture? Are you a culture based agency? Are you a technology based agency? Are you an amalgam of both? That will impact your business model because it's a thing which a lot of people who start up don't focus on is profitability, sustainability, a financial success model for the agency, because yes, the first 2 years are going to be tough, but you need to have a plan. You can't say that, let's see, we learn whatever we earn in the first year and then in second year we will figure out. No, you need to have a financial plan, and therefore you need to pick and choose the services that you will offer and therefore the clients that you're going to work with. um, what this will eventually do is that it will impact the kind of people that you hire. I think if somebody was to set up an agency today, I would not look at the market that is there today and therefore set up and hire and build a business model around today's requirements. I'd look probably a year, 2 years down the line, and I would say today for an agency to succeed, I need people who can build relationships, who can manage the delivery of services on time. They choose to call it traffic or client servicing or account management. I think those terminologies are becoming a little outdated. The second thing I would look at is, do I have somebody who understands the changing pop culture trends in India today? Because if you don't have one, you're going to have a very hard time trying to figure out what sort of solutions will work for your client, because at the end of the day all the solutions are targeted about towards behavior change, either on the client side internally or towards consumers. So you're either going to make them buy more, or you're going to make them switch brands, or you're going to make them accept new technology or adopt new technology. The third thing therefore you need will be somebody who understands technology, and I'm not talking about people who will build websites and apps. Those guys, you can always outsource that kind of work. But do you have somebody who can make sense of emerging technology trends and how they're going to impact human behavior? Because what impacts human behavior will also impact the consumption of media, the consumption of brands and services, and therefore, the client's business, whichever category you choose to talk to. The third, another kind of resourcing that you will have to look at is data is increasingly playing a very, very big role, and I don't mean big data. I'm talking about even basic social media analytics, which when combined with media consumption behavior and then combined with whatever offline consumer research you have, that has to be at the core of your inciting process. So do you have somebody who understands, who's a statistician or an analyst, who can make sense of numbers, and not just PowerPoint charts and one line definitions of what that PowerPoint chart means, but somebody who can take the data and turn it into insights for your creative team to work on, or your strategy team to work on. That's going to be very important. Um, so you sort of, once you figure out what is happening on the client and business side, and therefore what purpose will your agency solve, and then you figure out the kind of staffing that you do. I think it's very, very important to have a process in place, a process which is geared towards delivering business results for the client and not just towards creating communication or giving them strategic inputs. Because today the problem is that we very often talk about lack of talent in the agency side, but it's the same problem that the clients are facing. The quality of talent available for marketing companies is probably a challenge today, due to many reasons which I won't get into right now. So you need to develop a model where I don't think today we have, and increasingly in the future we will not have the luxury of talking to people across the table. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to come and present an idea to you. So you'd have to figure out a process where your client gets involved in the solution part of it right in the beginning, so that there is an equal amount of stake. There's an equal amount of skin in the game for both sides. Because what is increasingly happening, as I mentioned in the beginning, is that your CMO's term is probably 3 years today. We're seeing so many examples of really, really big CMOs who are leaving or being asked to leave, because in the 3 years of their tenure, they haven't really driven results. And today, it's all increasingly companies are focusing on shareholder value. That's the CEO's only role. If you think the CEO is interested in advertising of his brands, he's not. His only job is to drive shareholder value. So with their tenures coming down, your solutions need to work year on year, not 2 years down the line. So you need to be a very result oriented and a business oriented agency. I don't think there is any escaping from that. Now, I don't want to get into things like, should you combine, create mainline and digital. I don't think those conversations are relevant anymore. I don't think there are going to be any more digital agencies and mainline agencies. Uh, it is going to go back to the good old days when you had an agency. You had an agency partner, and the agency partner gave you communication solutions. The only thing that you will probably now have to look at is how can the communication process coexist with a consulting model, because Again, monies are a big problem for agencies, remuneration is a big problem. Um, Everybody is willing to undercut you because everybody is offering the same thing. So therefore, the important question is what makes you different. Can you combine consulting with communication, which then drives business for the client? Um, yeah. So if what does it mean to be an agency in the post-digital era? It means that you will have to reinvent yourself. Um, if you're an existing agency, and the reinvention can take time, some networks are trying to do that. But if you're somebody who's starting something right now, whether as an individual or as a collective, um, I would definitely look at and say, please reinvent how an agency is seen, how an agency works, how an agency behaves, and what an agency produces. Because legacy agencies, the big agencies today, will still continue to live because there is momentum, there are relationships. But if you're a newcomer, you have no hope in hell of building a successful business if you're going to try and ape them in terms of output. I know scale you will never be able to match, but in terms of, if you're going to set your agency model based on existing agency models, I don't think that's going to work anymore. I think you need to reinvent the agency model. Thank you.